Hello, this is Jack Boswell, and I'm here to talk about why the 1923 to 1929 period in Germany was known as the Golden Era of the Weimar Republic. So, through question 3 of the Hitler IDM, I learned about the economic, political, foreign affairs, and cultural experimentation factors that increased the stability in Germany and was why it was kind of a golden era. So, starting off with the economy, obviously the effects of the war devastated the economy, hyperinflation, unemployment, all the things, having to pay reparations. It was just a terrible economic situation. But the Dawes Act / Dawes Plan was made in 1924, and this was a plan to restructure the reparations that Germany was paying to the other side of the Treaty of Versailles. It relied on the United States loaning Germany $25 billion. It structured the reparations in a new way so Germany would increase the payments over time. It solved the rural crisis of 1924, so this is just like a good plan. The guy Charles Dawes, who's an American, won Nobel Peace Prize because of that, so that really helped Germany. And then a few years later, the Young Plan in 1929 put a final settlement on Germany's reparations, replacing the Dawes Plan, and this made the final payment dates be 1988, which decreased the reparations by 3/4, and basically just allowed them to pay less over a longer period of time, which allowed them to breathe and actually grow and recover their economy and have some progress there. And then the red mark currency that was introduced in 1923 by Gustav Stresemann was a really big deal because this currency was backed, it could actually it was like people had confidence in it and actually had value as opposed to the previous currency. Next, with the political stuff, under the same guy, Gustav Stresemann, Germany achieved some more political stability. It wasn't like super stable like how we see today, but it was definitely more compared to the years prior. So the Social Democrats were winning a lot more votes in the Riksdag, and there was less support for the extremists like the Nazis and communists. Also, the improved foreign relations that are going to be mentioned later, people have more trust in the government because they saw they're actually doing something and like making changes and having relationships abroad. And these things just made it better for Germany and allowed them to have a little bit more stability compared to the years prior, even though this wouldn't hold up. And eventually the discontent would take over from the Treaty of Versailles. But for the most part, this period was stable politically, especially compared to the past.
For foreign affairs, Gustav Stresemann's diplomatic skills were absolutely essential to Germany's recovery into the international circle of relations as well as acceptance on a global stage. First off, the Locarno Treaties were a series of agreements between Germany, France, Britain, Belgium, and Italy that were aimed at creating peace after World War I. And Stresemann, as the foreign minister of Germany, he played a leading role in negotiating and creating the terms for these treaties. Germany, for one, formally accepted its western borders with France and Belgium, with improved relations with their neighboring countries. However, its eastern borders with Poland and Czechoslovakia were actually left undecided as a way of appeasing the nationalistic Germans who wished to revise these terms in the future. In 1926, Stresemann secured Germany's admission into the League of Nations, earning it a permanent seat on the council. This was a major step towards reintegrating Germany into the international community, as well as creating more trust with the former enemies from World War I. While this was widely praised by many other countries, as well as some Germans, a lot of the German nationalists actually disliked it because it felt like an acceptance of the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles. Furthermore, Stresemann also championed Germany's involvement in the Kellogg-Briand Pact of 1928, which was an agreement that renounced war as a whole. Although this agreement was more symbolic rather than practical, as it kind of lacked any way to really enforce this, it enforced the lack of war. It helped rebuild Germany's reputation as a peaceful nation with the intent to keep peace in the world. Now there was a lot of cultural, for the culture in Germany, there's a lot of cultural experimentation, which is one of the reasons it's called the Golden Era of Germany. For example, Berlin, after the Greater Berlin Act of 1920, became the third largest city in the world, and areas like science and philosophy flourished with famous figures like Albert Einstein, Max Planck, and other philosophers that really came into focus during this time. German cinema also thrived a lot. producing really famous works in the setting with less censorship, like the Metropolis and the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. But these diplomatic and cultural advances earned this period the title of the Golden Era, although there were still challenges beneath the golden or gilded surface.